All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. Um, One of the problems with last week's homework was that you hadn't really talked about parametric testing at all. So you're doing parametric testing, you're asked to look for missing and outliers, but you don't know what tests they're going to run. The outliers in that may not be a big deal in that test. So I'm taking a step back, and then I'm in terms of the idea of looking what parametric testing is, trying to get you to understand a little bit before we dive into the next 5 or 6 weeks. How many ever weeks are left? How many ever testing days? Um, I've I have had them add SPSS, and we're moving to SPSS. If you cannot run SPSS on your on your computer, you need to reach out to me as soon as possible. And I'm going to go through this again in another. I'm going to splice this one for this one. But if you cannot run it on your computer when you download it, you need to reach out to me, and then you can run the Excel. We're moving into the textbook, guys. The textbook is awesome. I can't put it in any other words. I have taught it for 15 years. Other than the book I have on my shelf that is not science based, I have an SPSS for and I got to get the other one that I don't know what happened to it, but it goes through each test and gives you everything that you need. Okay. So just know that you need to download it as soon as possible and make sure that you can get it up on your computer. The textbook is phenomenal in terms of Excel, and it's also phenomenal in SPSS. But getting the data back from SPSS for a lot of the stuff, I'm moving some things around. You can't see anything. So your first one will be correlation, and then we'll move into the different types of t-tests, and then we'll do the ANOVA, and we'll do non-parametric testing and that. So I'm going to tell you now, and I'm going to say it every week, that your final will be write-ups and drawing conclusion on a data set. In your final, you will not be using SPSS. I will give you the SPSS data, and then you will write up the test with a conclusion. So each of these weeks after this week, when we start correlation, you need to make sure, and as you already know, I'm a stickler for perfection. So when you turn in your assignment, if it's wrong, you're getting it back to do your edits. Okay. You need to take your time to proofread the stuff and look at the examples. Bottom line is, it's not, hey, go do this and then turn this in and put in these numbers. No, you're doing an actual paragraph write up. So understand that this is real important. But if you understand the tests that we're running prior to going in, when that test comes up and we regurgitate it again and teach it all over again, and the definitions of them, then it'll start to solidify. The key on this is at no point do you have a conclusion. There are no, I say draw a conclusion on the data, but you are not making any true conclusions on a set of data because you're getting a different data set every week. Okay. Every time you do something in the book, you do a different data set. We will not be writing it up like it's in the book. Some of those elements will be there, but you're going to get a video of exactly how to write up that data. So in some ways, it's not really that hard, but this is a repetition thing. So when we get into next week, you have two data sets. The first data set is the data set from the example in the book. And the reason why I like that is because I need you to understand that this is the same thing over and over and over again. So if it says do this, this, and this, you do this, this, and this. If you want to do something different because you have all of a sudden become a statistical genius and you want to reinvent the wheel, have a good time. You're not going to get the grade you like. Everything is set up for you to learn how to do this and how to analyze the data. This bottom line is you do it once, you can do it 100 times. And it's the honest to God opinion. It is the same. Now, the disclaimer is you go on, you can do this somewhere else, you do this at your work. They may have a different way they want you to write it up, but it's going to basically be the same. You're always telling a story about a situation, and that's it. Whatever that is, that singular thing that you're looking at. Okay. So am I sharing? I am not sharing. Let's share. And now I want to go, where do I want to go to? I want to go here, and I need to go back to modules. And then I need to go to this week, which I cannot believe we're in week 9 already. It's just flying by. As you can see, accessing SPSS is right there. I've got to add something to it before I just got it about an hour ago. So I need to touch up the inside to make sure it has my notes in there about if you don't have it, yada, yada, yada. So choosing the proper test. And there's a lot of videos in here. I'm sorry. Once you understand it, you don't have to. You can go to YouTube and find somebody else. I've got some pictures here. I've got the t-test simply explained. It goes to this one. So in essence, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to first talk about, the parametric testing you need to figure out. It's very, very simple. If you really read it, we've been talking about assumptions, a lot about assumptions. Okay. And then this is the big one, the tests we're going to be running. Okay. When we move into next week, we move into correlation. I'm just going to kind of throw some stuff out there, but we'll get deeper next week. It's all about a relationship. Okay. It's the only one that deals with relationship and what we're doing. Different than difference. So like those that you put like effect and all this other stuff, this is the one time this semester that you're going to talk about a relationship. Okay. And it's a relationship between two independent variables. And then you take it to the next level of, how are they associated to each other? How much do they cross over? How much does one influence the other? I'm just kind of throwing things against the wall really, really fast on this one because we're going to get into that next week. But then we're going into the t-test. So we're not doing all of these, but these top 3 especially, and especially number 3. When you leave here, I want you to be totally solid in paired sample t-tests. Okay. And the reason is Dr. Kim says that's what most of you are going to do. You're going to do and then you're going to do the chi-squared. I call it chi. It's really chi-squared testing. Okay. So this is what I want to go over. And I want to try and explain it as simply as possible so we can get out of here in about 10 minutes. Okay. When you're looking at a t-test, you see the comparison of 2 means. We go back to the beginning, and you typed in equals average, and it gave you an average, which was actually the mean. So you're looking at a mean versus something. Okay. So in the one sample t-test, okay, I always use the example of Starbucks. If you go into Starbucks tomorrow, you look at the person in the drive-thru. Okay. You look up and there's a TV right there. And that TV says the timer's going. From when they hit that box outside, when they're pulling up or made the order, that starts rolling. And generally there's a number right next to it that is the number that they're looking for. That's at that store with that person. Then it moves out from there and it moves to the corporate office where they're looking at regional or they're looking at national. And they're looking to see what is the average of everyone now and the time it takes for that clock to start until they're pulling away. And I'm not sure how it works, but in that respect. And then they look at the average and then they take these regions and for the regional manager and say, well, you guys are right on target or you guys are this. It's all about a choice. Everything you're talking about from this moment on, think of it as it's a little piece, it's a little sliver of the pie that is going to give me information to make a decision on it, on whatever it is. Okay. And it starts with a one sample t-test. The difference is a one sample t-test is just a logging of numbers, mile times, diabetes, blood sugar numbers, whatever it is. You're going to take X number of people. The difference is that the researcher is involved in this in the idea that you're going to pick a number that you want to look at. Now, personally, I did this when I was like 21, 22. Maybe I was 22, 23. Yeah, that's so long ago now. I'm 61 now, so it's a long time. I worked at Taco Bell at the corporate office in the computer room. I knew how many tacos we sold every day. I knew how many enchiritos, any tostadas. I knew everything because they'd all came into my computers, not real computers like we have here. They were the original TRS-80s with the gray box and everything. They had no color, no nothing. But what it did was the modems collected all the data from all the Taco Bells, and they could tell the same ideas there. They could tell how many tacos were sold in California, how many tacos were sold here, how many tacos were sold in San Diego, or even like La Jolla at the Taco Bells. Okay. And then they would compile that on the different levels, such as that store, this region, and nationally, and because we were already internationally, how many tacos were being sold. This numbers help with R&D, okay, which was really cool because a lot of days you go over to R&D and you got 3 tacos. That's when they were doing the fajitas. So we would test fajitas 5 days a week. It was great lunch every day. It all tastes the same. But the bottom line is the researcher picks a number that's called a test value. And you're going to see that test value. That test value is whatever that researcher turns in as their mean. And then you're always looking above or below that mean. Now, if it's an independent sample test, you still have that each, let's say we're doing it on an independent sample is 2. So the one sample is one versus a test value. Independent sample has 2 values, like male and female, yes and no. Okay. And that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a question like, do you eat tacos? Yes or no? Okay. Let's say we surveyed 500 people. Do you eat tacos? And what you're going to get is, does it go against male and female? Because it's not like your descriptives. Okay. Now you're looking at it in a much different way. That question versus that. Now, okay, it says there, means of 2 separate unrelated groups, male and female, unrelated. Okay. Yes and no, unrelated. Let's say you had socioeconomic upper, middle, and lower, and all you had was upper and middle. It now turns in an independent sample t-test. There is no test value. You're looking at the difference in 2 means. Now, that key difference word comes up for the null and alternative again. The first one is there's a difference. There's a difference in the test value versus this. Or there's no difference. So no difference means it equaled. Very rare. Now, the last one I'm talking about is the paired sample t-test. And a paired sample t-test is when you do a pre and a post. Now, you can do a pre, you can do a post, you can do another pre, another post, and another post. You can have multiple in there, but you're looking at the means of 2 groups. Use this when comparing the means of the same group of 2 people. So I come in here today, I give you a pop quiz. Next Tuesday, you come in, I give you the same pop quiz. Now I look at both of them to see where the differences are, just in general. Then I look at it male and female. Did the males do better after the week and the females did worse, or vice versa? There's lots of things to look at to derive what you need to be really, 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 really successful. But going back to the outlier, not so much the outlier, but the missing, when you do a paired sample t-test, you need the same bodies for both tests. Otherwise, they're not the same. I have been to presentations where on day, I had 10 people this time and I had 6 people this time, and here's my data. Well, no, you had 6 and 6, you had 4, they're going to blow everything up. Okay. So now you look at the question, what's the definition of parametric and non-parametric? So I'm not asking you a ton of stuff. I'm not going to get into the answers there. What's the major assumption to decide if you do a parametric or non-parametric test? Great. Give an example of parametric test, but the rest of this is really about you watching those videos and going to YouTube and looking for some more if these don't hit you. I try not to get somebody that speaks, and no offense if anybody speaks has a real strong accent. I do my best to post videos that don't have really, really strong accents. I know I can't sit through and listen to it because I won't understand it. So it really takes the time to try and find stuff. The idea here is the more knowledge you leave with in terms of the respect of what we're doing, the more dangerous you're going to be when you get to Dr. Kim. Big thing I'm going to throw out there again is it is so important that when we start next week, that you're taking notes and you're taking the write up that I approve and give you your points for, okay? And get it in your notes. I don't care if it's on your computer, on a piece of paper, whatever it is, because when you go to do your final, some of you are going to take the full time, and some of you are going to get in there and go whoop de whoop whoop whoop, and I'm done because you've done the work. And I can tell you that when you're getting into this, it can't be like this. I was the same way when I first started. It can't be like this. Statistics is supposed to be super hard. All I got to do is fill in the blanks and understand what I'm writing down. Understanding each of the things that are happening in there. And if I do, then I speak at a different level because I could pull up that data, any data that you're given, and go, oh, that's a correlation, And okay, so yeah. Okay, so there's the R2. The R2 means that, oh my gosh, they were related. They crossed over at 50%. That's pretty huge. Didn't cross over it at some of the things. I know how to look at a scatter plot and make heads or tails of it. I'm not making you do all the formulas for that. And those things, doing a scatter plot in Excel is pretty easy. Highlight it, do. But getting all the means and all the other stuff is a little more difficult in Excel. This means you're going to take the data the data set, you're going to put it into SPSS, you're going to follow the direction. Now, here's the key. You're going to follow the directions I give you. You're going to get the data. That's why you're doing the one in the book. Why? Because all the answers are there. You go and you write it up. Some weeks I'm going to be giving you a template of how to write it up. It's not because I want it to be easy. It's because I need you to understand it. I need you to understand it, because if you understand it, you're good for your DNP. If you cheese on the next couple sections, when you come to your DNP and she says, well, you're going to run a correlation there, you got to start from scratch. And that's not fair. Well, Dr. Teff didn't teach me any of this stuff. And by the way, the stuff that's in there, I wouldn't be teaching that stuff. Teaching all the stuff I know you need to do what you're going to do and be successful. So you either jump on a bandwagon, run with me on this, and be prepared to make some errors and that. But there are simple nuances, APA, like letters that need to be, I'll be posting those in the room somewhere. Letters that need to be italicized, mean, standard deviation, R2. Certain things need to be done and be done correctly. Why? Because when you do it correctly, you save time, you save energy, and guess what? You keep Dr. Kim happy, and she's going to love you forever. because I know she's like no different than I am. She has to fight tooth and nail. Everything you do from now in this class and in your DNP is already set up for you. You just got to fill in the blanks. If you want to do your own thing, good luck. I got one that's doing that right now. Fight me, fight me, fight me. And the other students are going, why are you fighting him? I'm almost done. Because a lot of this is repetitious. It's over and over again. And then when you start to see it, you'll start to see it when you look at journal articles. Good journal articles are going to have the same elements that I'm talking about here. Now, they're going to be talking about much higher level of testing, but it's the same. But if you get a correlation, you go, oh, I see the matrix. I understand what this means. Oh, I know what that means. I know what those numbers mean. And life is good. Sorry, forgot to open the chat. V Ryan, hold on. I'm going to show you about SPSS. All right. So any questions on any of this, please reach out right now or wait till the end. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to pop on and start talking. If not, I'm going to move on. Anything not clear? Now, this is not all the tests we're doing. These are the tests that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. It'll make sense. Dun, 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 dun. Either everybody's watching the baseball game because my Dodgers are losing, I think. They all just want to get paid more. All right. I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to stop the recording. And I'm going to move on to the SPSS because that's all I have left